Welcome to the Beer Den Podcast. Tonight we're going to be drinking Dark Horse Raspberry Ale. Dark Horse is a brewery up in Marshall, Michigan. They're a badass small brewery that's not so small anymore.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Beer Den Podcast. My name is Ethan Hoopy.
And I'm Michael LaRoe. As always, we have a 3 criteria system here that's based on quality, value, and design of the beer. Total out of 100 points, we find the average and see how everything ranks up.
Sounds good. All right. We're going to try the beer first and then give our first impressions of it. Up front, very smooth. Has like good flavor. It's not overly light, even though the coloring of it is more of a light, very light amber, gold amber color. Very translucent.
So one thing I want to hit on, I watched a video on this one, and they say it's a beer first, fruit second.
Okay.
And you definitely get that with this. It's not overpowered raspberry feel. It's definitely beer with subtle raspberry aftertaste.
No, I get that. Yeah, like I say, I think it's a very good, like, light beer. Does this say, is it a, just says raspberry ale. I'm wondering, I mean, it has to be some sort of I don't know what the base malt is. If it's like a wheat,
I think they said it was a wheat ale.
Okay, so it's a wheat one, which it tastes like a very good wheat beer with just that hint of raspberry that I think makes it a lot more unique.
Yeah, I was worried that it would be overpowering. I've had other raspberry ales that, I mean, the moment you crack the bottle open, that's just all you smell. It's all you taste.
Yeah.
There's not a real good balance between beer and fruit, and I think that this beer accomplishes that.
Yeah, it definitely it finds that balance really well.
It's nice and clear too, like, and there's not. Sometimes you get kind of like floaties and sediment in the beer.
Yeah.
And at least these two that we poured out, like, they look
really good,
pretty clear.
Yeah, like sometimes you get just a lot of sediment, and it really takes I'm not a huge fan of having like a lot of sediment in my beer. It really it kind of makes it seem a little bit gross. But so yeah, this being very clean is a good one. But
what do you think of the mouthfeel on it?
It's not too dry. Like, especially just upon initial tasting of it, it's not overly dry.
Yeah, some wheat beers can get that to where it's, you drink it and afterwards you kind of want some water.
Yeah. No, I think it does a pretty good job of like quenching thirst. Like, it's not something that you're going to need another drink while you drink this.
It has a slight citrus. It's not an overwhelming. It's not like Blue Moon where you really get like the orange peel scent to it. It's just a subtle raspberry to it.
Yeah, it's enough to notice like the citrusiness, but it's not overwhelming. Like, I really like it because it isn't overwhelming in any one direction. It still has the core taste of a traditional wheat beer that's quenching thirst. I think it just does everything really well.
Okay. What did you think of the value of it? This was a $10 a 6-pack beer, which is
at $10. I definitely, I think I'm gonna give it probably a 22 then. I think it's an exceptional beer, and then for it to be placed at that $10 mark, I think it definitely should get some extra points.
Okay, I would agree. I rated it at 22 because it's middle of the road on price. Generally, we see $10 for a 6-pack, but I rated it a little bit higher in quality. I rated this at 43 out of 50.
Okay.
I think it's balanced very well. I mean, you don't get a whole lot of the raspberry taste to it, and it's a nice wheat ale. If you were to take the raspberry out of it, I think it does well on both fronts there.
Yeah, I actually rated it at a 42, so we are obviously right there, kind of in our opinions of the quality. What are you thinking about the design of the bottle all around?
So they actually just changed the artwork for the label on this. And I'm not sure what the old one was, but this one definitely draws your eye to it. It has a couple of things going on. It has like a bumblebee and a raspberry on it. Overall, it's a nice beer. I will say it lacks in like a description of the beer. So you literally just get the brewery, their logo, and the name of it. There's not much else. If you're looking at it, you just got to know like kind of what to expect with the raspberry ale. There's nothing else to go on.
Yeah, I would really like to see a description of what to expect. That way you're not going into it blind, because almost based on the image, like, yeah, it has a bumblebee on it, so you'd almost be thinking like honey or something like that, like a honey raspberry, but I don't believe that there's any kind of honey involved in it, so I don't really quite understand why the bee is there, but...
Yeah. By the way, this is a 5% alcohol by volume beer, so it is kind of on that lower end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I know a lot of times now people are looking for more alcohol content in their beer.
More around like 6 or 7. I mean, when you start getting up to like 8, 9, 10s, like those are almost too extreme, but...
Yeah, that's in a whole nother class.
Yeah.
What do you think of the name? Because personally, I think it's just kind of generic. I mean, it's just raspberry ale. It doesn't have anything witty or...
I think it gets the job done, but yeah, I would like to see... I think I would deduct a little bit off of just the fact that it doesn't really have a name. But I think it gets to the point. I think, it's clearly, for being such a mild raspberry flavor, they seem to really be pushing the raspberry theme on the beer. Like, you almost, if you were to get this, you would feel or expect a lot more raspberry flavoring. But yeah, it just doesn't have that. So
I like the colors, though. I mean, it does kind of throw me, and I'd be interested to see if there is like honey into it, because even on the label colors,
yeah,
I mean, it matches with the raspberry. You can tell like this is a raspberry beer. And so I wonder if there is any honey that's used in it.
Yeah,
that we're just not catching. Again, I mean, there's no description on the bottle, so...
I mean, it's pretty sweet, so there could be. But yeah, with a lack of information, like, how are we supposed to know if there's actually any honey in it or not?
So, overall, I rated it at a 74, and that was 43 on quality out of 50, 22 out of 25 on the value, because I think it's a good beer. And it, like I said, $10, middle of the road. That's a pretty decent value. I did rate it pretty low on design, just because there is no description on it. There's not really a creative name for it. I do like the artwork, though, and I guess that's really why I gave it 9. Otherwise, it probably would have been lower. How about you, Ethan?
So I'm at a 78.
A 78
overall. Okay. I give it a 14 on design. I do like the design of the label, even though it doesn't really it's not very descriptive, but I think it does a pretty good job. It definitely draws your eye to it.
All right, so you gave it a 78. I gave it a 74. So we got a 76 average. Not too shabby for the Dark Horse Brewing Company. All right, that's the show. Look for us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon, where we'll be posting each week.
Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week in the Beer Den.